Whoa, fucking. Whoa, fucking cool, man. We're fucking live and recording back in the studio, back from Philadelphia and New York City. I had a really fun time. Over the holiday break. I hope all of you guys did. I hope seeing your families was good. I know it wasn't good for everybody. I know it's tough for some people. Talked to my friend Shane. He was telling me that his cousin waved around a loaded gun at Christmas, and I said, damn, that's crazy. And he said, yeah, the safety was off. And I said, he turned the safety off? He said he took it off of the gun entirely. And I said, that's insane. He said, yeah, that's what he was bragging about. So I share that story to say that I understand that some of your families are a little annoying, a little testy. It is funny when you hear about an actually crazy family like that, you know? Because some people would be like, man, my family is so crazy, and all it means is that, like, they play fucking charades, and then the uncle will, like, call one of the other aunts a bitch, and everyone's like, ah, you know? And that's crazy. No, real crazy families are, like, so not fun. It's insane. It's the whole... I think a lot of times when people say, like, oh, we had a crazy family, what they mean is that, like, their mom was funny. You know what I mean? Like, they just had a funny mom, or the family was generally loud. You know what I mean? Like if somebody... Because that's, like, the number one thing. It's always, like, a white suburban kid. And then you meet their mom, and she's just a lady that you're like, hey, can we drink this bottle of wine? And she's like, I don't give a fuck. And then that's the thing where they're like, we got a crazy fucking family. This family is crazy. But no, I have a very normal family. I talked about seeing them on the last episode. That was the day of Christmas. Wow, that's sad to think about. I recorded a podcast on Christmas. I mean, I didn't sacrifice anything to do it. I had the time, and it was, you know, I wanted to get the episode out on time, but there's something pretty wrong about recording a podcast on Christmas now in retrospect. It almost just feels like I should observe the day. And not even as a Christian, I just mean as it being a holiday. It's like, maybe don't do something like a podcast. Maybe that's not, and I don't know. But I went to Philly that night. Fucking flew there. Flew in, Ubered, got to my girlfriend's sister's house, and it was great. We had such a nice time in Philly. There was a corner bar that was, their house was on one corner. It's like a Philly house, which you'd expect. It was like 3 stories with a lower part. Whatever you would imagine somebody's house in Philadelphia is, you know, the 3 stairs, railing, stoop, whole thing. Go there. And across the street was a bar. Great neighborhood bar called the New Wave Cafe, which so funny, being from California, I didn't realize that this was actually kind of a cool bar for Philly, you know? I mean, at this point, it's been around long enough, it's a neighborhood bar, but it was called the New Wave Cafe, so it's like a new wave music bar, which really means it looks the same as any other bar, but they play some new wave music. That's kind of it. But it's still full of dudes that are just like, yo, fucking that dude should have kept playing, you know? But it's, you realize how dangerous it is to have a corner bar that you can walk to. Because in LA, if I want to go to a bar and just have a drink, I have to get in my car and then drive to a bar. And, you know, the bars that I like to go to are, you know, they're not walking distance, you know? And they're where youth go. They're not fucking clubs. Like, one is pretty much a wannabe dive bar, a pretty good wannabe dive bar. Like, it's technically a dive bar. Like, it's a dive bar, but there was still a cooler bar there before it, so you can't really, you know. But point is, these are like destinations. And if you're alone in these places, you are alone in these places. You know what I mean? It's not like it's so cool that people are like, who's that guy? But like, most everybody there is there with a friend, because nobody's just kind of walking over from their house for a drink, you know. But this bar is like many people in the country are accustomed to, which is a bar that you can live across the street from, you walk into, you can have a beer, you sit there, talk to the bartender, maybe just read a book, and nothing's weird. You know what I mean? It's not like you're really not even out, isn't it? It's great. There's these places where it's like you're not in your home, but you're not out. Like if somebody asked you what you did the night before, you might start with the word nothing. You'd be like, nothing. I went to New Wave, had a beer, But it's like it's whatever. It's casual, It's not a whole thing, and I love that. But it would fucking kill me if I lived across from one of those and was in that situation, because I would just go there every fucking day. I would be drinking all the time, and I'd be like, yeah, it was whatever. I went over to the bar. It was, I'd fucking drink 6 drinks a night, which are cheaper in Philly, and then go there long enough that the bartender covers a couple of them. You know what I mean? It's like it would absolutely murder me. That's what's good in LA is if I was an alcoholic, it's noticeable because I'm either going out to bars every single night, rain or shine, whether I'm alone or have a friend. It's that, or I'm bringing beers home every night and drinking 6, which both of those are noticeable because one is you're going out every night, you're sacrificing your time. The other is, when you're sitting in your house drinking some beer, you know what I mean? Like, when that's its own kind of moment, But this middle ground of, chatting up a bartender while you have, 5 draft Yinglings, that's nobody's even remembering that happened. You know what I mean? That's just a short little event, But yeah, we would go there, and it was fun. I'd never been to Philadelphia. It was not that cold. It was actually just about as cold as LA's been lately. So I don't know if that's what global warming does, but not. I mean, I liked that it was warmer in Philly, but I was fucking furious to fly back to LA and see clouds. We were in Philly. They got the Munners Day Parade. If you don't know what that is, it is New Year's Day in Philadelphia. Dudes dress up as it's very similar to a court jester outfit. It's usually like a primary color, like a blue, green, or red or whatever. It's green. No, green's not. What? Blue, red, yellow, right? I don't think it's strictly primary, but I'm saying those are kind of what you see, like a silk, and then with kind of like white garters all around, like a frill here, like what you put under a teacup, like a frill here, you got a frill here, you got a frill here, some on the knee, some on the ankle, and then there's kind of a skirt to that outfit. So it's kind of like a court jester, I would say. It's like a court jester, and they paint their faces, and they parade throughout the streets, and the funniest part about Philly, and maybe I'm wrong about this because I didn't do my research, I just asked people, but it's Munners Day Parade, and I really don't know what Munners Day is, but it was so similar to a kind of Mardi Gras vibe. I don't think there were no beads involved or anything like that, but it was very like it was very like medieval debauchery, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, the men are dressing up silly and kind of like women, and everybody's getting drunk. I was like, this very much seems like some sort of church holiday. So I asked people, I was like, oh, is this like an old religious thing? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, so that's just how weird Philly is then, that just for no reason because it makes sense if you're like a Christian and you're like, yeah, we're like, this is like hedonism, like we're dressing up like court jesters and we're getting hammered in the streets, like it's then that level of like, let's be so silly makes sense. But it's so insane to just be like, no, we're just kind of doing this to do it. But I mean, I love that, and I hope that's the truth. I'll probably continue to not do my research about what Munners Day truly is, just to believe that for no reason people in Philly just started doing that. It was a good time. I mean, I wasn't really a part of it. It was funny because I didn't have a plan for that day. So my girlfriend went out to get lunch with her father, and I was just chilling. And so I had nothing to do. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just see if I can go to a bar. But then the bar was slammed because it's a fucking practically just a drinking parade in Philly. So then I was just sort of solo at the bar, part of the festivities, but not fully part of the festivities. I don't know. It was odd, but it was a good time. It's good to go to a new place and kind of be proven wrong. about stuff. Because before I went to Philly, I thought the whole place was just a bunch of people just being like, yeah, he fucked my sister and it pissed me off because, like, he said he was only going to fuck one of them, but he fucked Tiffany too, I don't think that's Philly. I think that's more like, Delco accent? I don't know. But I thought it was like that, And I didn't really think it was like that, but when you're like, if you ask me, like, what do I think Philadelphia is like, did I really think there were a bunch of dumb fucking idiots that talk like that? No. But does is there like a core LA douchebag that thinks that? Yes. So I thought it was just like, I thought Philly was just like, yo, I fucking stepped on a rat and that shit bit me, like I thought that was the whole city. But then I showed up and, and then I just met a bunch of like doctors and lawyers and like great people that were very smart. But I will say at one point, a guy did come up to me, asked me for a cigarette, and I gave it to him, and he said, it's been a crazy day. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, got kicked out of my fucking house. And the way he said it, I could tell that it was his fault. So it lived up to its expectations, from what I can say. I'd say Philly did live up. It definitely did the job of what it was supposed to do as a city. Did a job. And yeah, I went. I fucking did some open mics. I did one open mic. I did one show. It's interesting because they tell you, I don't know who they is. I guess other comedians. They say it's like, small scenes are really where it's at. It's what's important. Most comics are not starting in New York and LA. These small scenes, they're fucking great. They're super cool, man. You gotta put respect on them, and I do. But I mean, dude, people just, if you're not in New York or LA, it's like most of those people are never gonna leave, and they just suck so much. And it's the most stuck up thing ever. But it's nice to go to those cities, go to an open mic, and be like, all right, I'm like not that bad at comedy. Like I'm not. Just look around the open mic of people just bombing their ass off and be like, okay, so I must be like, I'm at least out of the worst of the worst. I'm at least out of that, But I don't know. It's interesting too to see how people are the same everywhere. All the opinions are the same. The people I was performing to, I always just notice it's like, if you're not in New York or LA, you still have the same like Gen Z, millennial, young, hipster douchebags. But then when it becomes a smaller city, the only difference is the guys there are like, yeah, fucking this regional draft beer is cool. Like that's it. Like they just sort of have some of the old accoutrements of that city. But like, they'll talk to you about the same shit that you can talk to anyone else about because everything is just online now. So yeah, the only differences are just them, just like they might eat some more cheese than you do. I don't know. We went to Pat's Cheesesteaks, which if you don't know is across the street from Geno's Cheesesteaks. I think Pat's is the first cheesesteak place. I think they're credited as creating it. I don't know. But I think they were there first. And then this place, Geno's, opened up across the street, and they have this war. I don't know. Listen, if you've watched even a lick of the Travel Channel, you're probably aware of Pat's and Geno's cheesesteaks. We went there, and it sucked. And I expected it to suck because it's supposed to suck. It's a fucking tourist trap. And you're making a fucking cheesesteak with Cheese Whiz, which any fucking idiot in the world would know Cheese Whiz is the worst cheese. And I don't know, it's so funny going to one of those places where they like, they're like, this is Pat's, like we got all this history, and they were doing the shit where they like fucking rushed me, but the funniest part was that like nobody was fucking there. Like when we showed up, they did not have a rush. And so they have like two windows, which is like one you get a cheesesteak at, and the other you get anything else you need at. So already I was like, you guys are fucking stupid. We showed up and nobody's there, and then they're like, what do you want? What do you want? Come on. Oh, come on. You want the whiz, the provolone? What do you want? Come on, we gotta go. I want to look around and be like, guys, can we drop the toot for a sec? Could we drop the fucking tube? Because it's not making the food better, okay? Also, the food is fine. Like, I don't even know what a good fucking Philly cheesesteak tastes like. You know what I mean? It's like, you go to those places, and by the time a place like that is so famous, it's like they're practically a fucking cafeteria. Like, they're just making that food nonstop. Like, it's just, you don't know how old that fucking steak is. And you hope it's not that old because of how busy they are. But, you know, they weren't that busy when we showed up. I ended up paying $41 so me and my girlfriend could each get a sandwich. I got fries, and we each got a drink. I paid $41 so I could sit out in, like, 60-degree weather and eat a fucking sandwich of fucking steak strips and Cheese Whiz, which, by the way, solidified the second it hit the fucking cold, which is like, you got to make your sandwiches to the weather that you're in. Guess what? This Cheese Whiz is getting brick fucking quick as shit, okay? What have you given me? This is ridiculous. And I'm a born hater, so I walked into this with bad energy, I'll be honest. But I knew Cheese Whiz was not the correct option. The correct option is obviously something like a provolone that you put on top of the steak while it's on the grill, and then once the cheese melts, you go like this, and you mix that provolone throughout the steak so it stays hot, and then you would case it all in that fucking bun, and then you got cheese that's not going to dry up quickly all throughout your meat, and you got a great fucking sandwich. But I want to try the Cheese Whiz, which is something that only a fucking child would think is a good idea, because what they do is just fucking take a sandwich without anything on it, you just bread and then meat, and then they get a fucking spatula and just put Cheese Whiz over the top, you know, where the cold will hit it first. You go out and you open up the sandwich, and like practically 95% of the cheese is on top of the meat. So you get like one bite that's like hot, nice cheese, and you're like sick. And then the second bite is deeper into the sandwich where the cheese is, and now you're just eating not that great of steak with not that great of bread. And it's funny because, you know, the whole thing with like something like a Philly cheesesteak especially, or, you know, many types of burgers, you can have the thing where it's like, oh, well, it's not quality ingredients, but like they got this old ass fucking griddle. The structure of the sandwich is good. The way they prepare it, it's hot, it's greasy. It's really not about like the quality of the ingredients. It's the preparation and how they know how to do it that makes it good. But what's funny is this place with Pat's is they don't get away with that. It's like you get shitty ingredients and then you eat shitty food. It's not like, oh, the Cheese Whiz, it's a shitty cheese, but, you know, when you mix it up like that, it's like that gross comfort. No. You eat it, and you're like, yeah, Cheese Whiz is a terrible option for this fucking sandwich. What stupid fucking idiot came here from Italy and did... What dumb Italian motherfucker? What ostracized Italian idiot? But who the fuck is Pat? There's no way Pat's mom did not disown Pat. This guy starts a fucking sandwich shop, and they're like, what kind of cheese you gonna use? He's like, Cheese Whiz? Like, you fucking idiot. What are you using Cheese Whiz for? You get, why? I mean, if you're using Cheese Whiz, you might as well just fucking get beef jerky as the steak, because you're just wasting meat on it, you know? Which, by the way, is a plot in a Hannah Montana episode. Her brother and, what is his name, Rico? They open up a beef jerky and nacho cheese business, and I remember as a kid thinking, damn, beef jerky and nacho cheese, I wish I could try that. You can try that whenever you want, and I've never tried it in my life. And I was at the age where it was appropriate for me to watch Hannah Montana. Maybe some people would still call it gay that I did, but I wasn't 15. I was, I think, 10 or under, which is you're completely allowed to watch Hannah Montana if it's 10 and under. Also, Miley Cyrus has been delivering tour de force performances probably from the day she was born. Good for Miley Cyrus, too. She did such a good job at no longer being a Disney star. She did such a good job because she was a Disney star, and then she did pop, and she wasn't a Disney star anymore, but she was still kind of a nice pop artist. And then just for like 2 years straight, all she did was just talk about how she loves getting high and then she would just get naked, and it was only that for 2 years. That, like, I don't know if you remember this, like, the only publicity you would see about Miley Cyrus is, like, she divorced her boring husband, which I think was a good move for her, right? Chris Hemsworth? I don't know. That guy seems boring as shit. There's no way that they're of equal. I think Miley Cyrus seems like a generally very interesting person to hang out with. I don't know. Maybe she sucks, but the vibe is that she's got a Madonna vibe of, like, this is a weird person. They must have weird opinions about stuff. Or I don't know. Maybe she just likes getting fucked up a lot. Who knows? But she divorced him. I was like, nice. That was sick. And then she was just 2 years of her just being like, I love getting high. Here I am naked again. And it was so funny because there was no space for her to not be a Disney star. It was just full, just the whole time was just insaneness. And now, I don't know if I hear much from her, but it's pretty... People have forgotten about Hannah Montana. I'll tell you that much. People have definitely let go of Hannah Montana. My laundry's done. I'm going to take a break, team. All right, well, shit. Turns out I probably have fucking lung cancer because yesterday I tried to get a huge bag of laundry, climb it up my stairs, bring it back to my house, climb it up the stairs to my room, got back in, tried to re-record the podcast, keep it going, and just started getting lightheaded from literally just talking. So that's good. That's great. Had some nice little momentum in those first 20 minutes, I'll tell you that much. Had some good momentum and really completely lost it. And then the rest of the podcast was pretty shitty. So just scrapped those, 10 or so minutes that I struggled through. And now we're kind of here the next day. So really, you're sort of getting a 2-for-1 because it would seem that my health is so bad that talking can not be done sometimes. But hey, kind of fun to take a break and then I come back in a different sweatshirt, freshly showered. The sweatshirt is clean, but what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? I noticed the lights really make it pop. I don't know. I've had this hoodie for 4 days. No, I haven't. I've had this hoodie for like 3 months. Wow. I've done nothing with my life. I would say about I've gotten done the last 3 months the same I've gotten done in the past 4 days, I guess, if we really break it down. But yeah, we were talking about Philly cheesesteaks and Miley Cyrus, and give it up for Hannah Montana. Give it up for Philadelphia. Give it up for New York a little bit. I don't know. I'm still... Jury's still out on New York, I want to like it, but I don't. You want to be cool, but it sucks. And it sucks not because of the hustle and the bustle, but who the hustle and bustle is being done by, which is mostly pretty fucking annoying people. Like, New York City is a great place to just be a complete jackass because everybody is just like, hey, that's New York. Like we were on a subway, and this isn't even that crazy. This is fucking par for the course. I know that. But we were on the subway, and there was a lady that was just singing to herself, just singing, I think My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Singing that, and then like when the subway announcements would come on, be like, next stop is 4th Street. She just started repeating it out of her head. She was like, next stop is 4th Street. And my girlfriend talks about external monologues a lot. That's what she was doing. It's a great place for those people to just yell out into the world. It's a place where you can just yell into the world and people are like, yep, that's what this city's about. And if you're not from there and you're there for a couple days and that seems to be the vibe, you start to ask the question, why is that what this city is about? You know what I mean? Like, why, though? Because that's not making the money. That's not getting shit done in the city. Those people are bothering people who are getting shit done in the city. So what is going on? What is the heart of New York? Is it that lady being annoying as fucking shit on the subway? Because in that case, fuck this place, Fuck this place. I fucking hate it here. I don't know. Just we were at a fucking McDonald's at 1 a.m. and it was still New York. Because 1 a.m.'s not that late for New York. The bars aren't even closed yet. You know what I mean? If anything, the people in there getting food to go home were kind of taking an early night. But yeah, we were in there at like 1 a.m. and it was still New York and people were still being loud. There were two babies. There were two babies in there at 1 a.m. I really hope those people have homes. I hope they have homes and they're just pieces of shit. I hope the McDonald's is not their home. But when you're in New York, in a McDonald's in New York at 1 a.m. and the energy is still like it would be at 1 p.m., you want to ask everybody to just go to bed, you know? I tried to open a bathroom door that was locked, and then 1 second ago I was like, hey, yo, give me a second, all right? I don't find it endearing. You know what I mean? It's just like, how are you so fucking... It's late. How are you so... What are you pissed about, man? It's too late for you to be this fucking pissed still. Can you tone it down with the fucking energy? I don't know. I don't think I could ever live in New York. I live in LA, so it's not like a big city thing, you know? It's not like seeing somebody die on the street is not the problem. The problem is that you only see the street in New York. Which nobody talks about is people talk about it, but only in a positive sense, where they're like, you look up and you see those skyscrapers and they inspire you. But they don't talk about the fact that you walk around the whole city and you look up and you look up and you look up and you look up and you only see buildings. You just see trash on trash on trash on trash on trash, and you don't see any nature unless you go to the centralized park of nature in the city, and that's how you see nature. But otherwise, you don't see nature the whole time, and it's like, doesn't that make you want to blow your fucking brains out? Like, to not even be... Everything's flat, you know what I mean? Like, there's not even a moment where you're on a hill, you know what I mean? There's just nothing for you. There's nothing for any human to grasp onto. What I like about LA, at least, is that it's a terrible city full of awful people who only want to make money and hurt each other. But I can look up and I can see a fucking mountain, you know? But also, that's not true about LA. I should say. People who are from LA are not fake people, you know? I'm from the Valley, and I want to be a comedian. So if anything, I'm probably one of the fakest people that is from LA. But everybody else is just mostly a fucking working class person trying to make money for their family. They're not fake. The people who are fake are the people who moved here from the middle of the country and abandoned their family to pursue a stupid dream. That's fake. And those people come out here and they hang out with other people who abandon their stupid fucking families, and then they lie to each other because they think they have to, and then they go, everybody in LA fucking sucks, and they move home, and the fact of the matter is they never met anybody from LA, because the people who were from LA were the people that were fucking cleaning up all of their dishes after they spent $35 on, you know, avocado toast. Okay, a little hacky with the avocado toast reference, but you get the point that I'm making. You know, it could be argued that people saying that people in LA are fake is almost racist, because it's like, I bet you 95% of you that come and you say LA's fake is your fucking white people that moved here from a shitty ass state like Idaho, just a nothing state, and the older you get, the more and more you realize that you're not incorrect with making grand generalizations about the Midwest. But you came from some nothing state that does nothing for anybody besides produce stupid fucking babies like Idaho or Iowa. Those two states, what is the difference between you two? I bet they're so different, and who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like, you're nothing. You're absolutely nothing. You guys come here, and then you hang out with other fucking white people from those areas, and then you just lie to each other because you're liars, you know, because you have your little small town politics, you know. That's the thing, is like, you think a lot about these, like, LA bickerments. It's like, well, she did this and she did that. It's like, that's what people in small towns do to keep themselves entertained, you know. People that actually, like, with things going on that are part of a big city, that are part of a world bigger than them, are not the people that are, like, breaking up friendships and lying and conniving and shit like that. That's what like your stupid fucking parents did in Duluth, Minnesota, and they did that because they were fucking bored. You know what I mean? It's like they go over to Tom and Catherine's house, and then they go home and talk about how Catherine's a fucking drunk and a liar and a bitch, and they talk shit about her all night. And they do that because there's no good bars or restaurants in the area, and that's what they do. Is they can't go out into the world. There's no world for them to go out into. There's their house, and there's like a couple restaurants they go to, and that's it. And then they're friends, and so they just fucking they're shitty people, and they don't get enough satisfaction out of having fun with their friends, and they can't shit talk strangers because they don't fucking know strangers because they don't go out. So they go out to their friends, they talk shit to them, and then you learn from them, and then you come here and you meet me, and then all of a sudden you bring all this little small town jealous fucking I want that fucking energy, you know, the same energy that your fucking mom has when she sees that, you know, Carol's husband got her a TV, you know, whatever. Like, you bring that energy here, you get all pissed off at all of us. Fuck you. You know what I mean? We're doing fine over here. People that are from larger cities are rarely like very mean people. You know what I mean? Like usually they have a nice sense of minding their own fucking business, you know? And that's nice. That's good. A lot of people don't know how to mind their own fucking business. I walk by people I know on the street all the time. Do you know why? Because I don't look at the faces of people I walk by on the street. You know what I mean? Mind your own fucking business. Just stay ahead, you know? But some people, they just can't not be in other people's business. They're just fucking gossipers, you know? And I think that's a small town trait. I think gossip is a small town trait. It keeps people on edge. It also supplies a sort of common law to the whole thing, you know what I mean? It's like this whole kind of, you know, governing body of shit talkers that underlie every single small community, and everybody just lives in fear of them. You know, they just rue the day that they are the subject of whispered scrutiny, you know? And then they come here and they go, everybody hates me. You know, and people in LA aren't fake. People in LA will send you a message. That's what I like to do. If I don't like you, I will send you a message. That message being me being pretty bad in conversation every fucking time we talk. If you come up to me, and every goddamn time that we talk, I barely look at you, barely say anything, and don't really ask you any questions. Listen, man, if you're coming up after the fourth time and not just saying hi, get the fucking message, okay? California is the third largest economy in the world. Most of that money's from California. Do you think people have time to tell you the truth all of the time? That's what I hate about this stupid East Coast. And I don't even know if this is real East Coast people who say this. This might be the same thing where people move to New York and go, well, we're New Yorkers are like this, you know? But this whole, like, direct thing. Like, fuck you, okay? Being direct. You're a fucking adult. You can't pick up on a signal. How fucking, like, I have to deal with this shit? I have to deal with your social ineptitude? Why didn't you tell me that you don't like me? Well, I don't know. I stopped returning most of your phone calls, and when I did, I fucking barely spoke. You know, I never asked you to hang out. I felt pretty direct. I felt like there were a lot of direct messages of me saying, hey, man, I'm not really that into this relationship anymore. Why didn't you pick up on it? Why is it a virtue for you that you are so fucking dumb that somebody has to spell every goddamn thing out to you, okay? This whole say it to my face shit is stupid. No, we're adults. How about we wither away this relationship like two hardworking adults should? Do you think... I'm not even a busy person. Do you think truly busy people, like successful agents and managers, really have time to tell you they don't like you? You really think they have the time to get on a phone call and go, hey, man, I know you've been calling me to go to lunch. I'm going to be honest. I just really don't want to go to lunch with you. I don't like you. And if you're saying yes, you're a fucking idiot, because you are the type of person that if you got that call, that would not be the end of it. You would argue and ask stupid questions, and then you try and rekindle the relationship. It's Banshees of Inisherin, baby. Banshees of Inisherin, whatever you call it. If you haven't seen it, is that movie where they live off an island off the coast of Ireland. Two guys, they hang out, and then at one point, one of the dudes just goes, "Hey man, don't talk to me anymore." And then it's a fucking hour and a half of the other guy not fucking getting it. It's an hour and a half of the other guy just going, "Wait, what do you mean don't talk to you? We're friends. I thought we were friends. Why can't I talk to you? What do you, please let me talk to you? You're my friend." And the guy goes, "No, no, 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 no." Believe it or not, the guy that didn't want to be friends with him probably would have had better luck if he just slowly just whittled away that connection. Just, like they're just two pieces of bark grown into each other, and you just slowly just whittle and whittle and whittle and whittle, and one day it breaks, and it breaks, and it feels natural because it was supposed to break. But no, he tried to he tried to do what you people say is the good idea, is to be honest, you fucking idiots. He tried to do the thing where you're honest. And what ended up happening, he cut off his own fingers and threw it at his door, and then he got his house burned down, okay? Because that is what being direct gets you. That's what being direct gets you, okay? I tried for fucking years to get away from this one fucking guy. I'd give him rides around to open mics. He fucking sucked so much, and I was younger. I was still in my teens, and he'd give me cigarettes because he's a piece of shit, which probably kept me driving him around for a little longer. But it was one of those things where at first he seemed like a cool guy, but there were a lot of bad things happening to him. People fucking him over. He was never the victim, and eventually you get to a point where you go, now, wait a minute. It's starting to seem like you might be the problem. If somebody has too many interpersonal problems with people, it's kind of no way it's not their fault, pretty much. There's nobody that's just awesome that it gets in fights with everybody. If you meet somebody and they're trying to tell you that they're a good person, that they also get in frequent fights with almost anybody, they suck. And they suck hardcore because they don't even know they suck, okay? There's nobody out there that's like the nicest, most generous, most listening, giving person in the world, and they're like, yeah, everybody just tries to fuck me over all the time, and they're mean to me, and they kick me out of places, and they tell me I'm not wanted places. But I'm awesome. You know what I mean? Like, nobody who's truly kind, loving, and accepting and all of that shit happens to. And that's obvious. But sometimes you hang out with somebody and you just kind of don't get it for a little bit. You just kind of don't fully get it. And that's what happened with this guy. I drove him around. We would go to open mics, and he was a little older comic. And then he was just really negative, and I got into therapy. I was in therapy for, I think, 1 week, and it's just stuff we talked about. I was like, damn, I gotta get the fuck away from this guy. And so I stopped texting him, pretty much, because I would go to open mics every day, and I would drive him almost every day to open mics. So I set up a bad precedent. I set up a tough precedent to break. But I think I started it by just sort of, I just kind of stopped texting him. I would just try and go to open mics without him. But he would text me, and I would go, okay, all right, I'll give you a ride. But eventually I just really didn't want to. So I just told him, hey, man, I give you rides all the time. I really don't want to give you rides anymore. Or, like, if you really need a ride, you can ask me. But, like, please, I'm just trying to give you less rides. I think I set up some situation where I was pretty much like, hey, just ask me if you need a ride. A ride's not a given anymore. But then what happened is he asked me for a ride every single fucking day. Every single day. And he was like, well, I'm asking. Like, when a guy That's the problem with being direct. You have to choose those words carefully because fucking people will respond to the boundaries you're setting like it's a fucking genie's wish. Like they just get you off on technicality where he's like, well, I'm asking. And I'm like, yeah, you're asking every single day. I feel like you should get the vibe that I didn't want you to ask every single day. And then it's like, well, but you could say no. And you're like, well, don't make me have to fucking say no every day. Can you just catch a vibe and maybe start getting rides from somebody else? But he didn't. He would just ask me every fucking day. And for a little bit, I said yes. Then eventually I just said, hey, man, don't text me anymore. Just don't ask me for rides. No more. I'm not driving you, okay? Just I'm not going to give you rides. I'm not going to drive you. And then that's when he said, well, how am I supposed to get to open mics? And mind you, this is somebody who'd been doing comedy in L.A. for, at least 6 years. Don't tell anybody about that. Please don't tell anybody about that. No snot, little bit of snot. All right. All right. All right, Jesus. All right, God. You want to fuck me over? I'll fucking kill you, God. You see, I suck. I don't even know why people would want to hang out with me. But I told him, I was like, I'm not going to give you rides anymore. And then he said, how am I supposed to get to open mics? And I was like, listen, man, you've been doing comedy in LA for like 6 years longer than me. You don't have a car, which means you've ridden the bus before. And you got other people that you know that can give you rides to these open mics. So you don't need me. And he was trying to act like I was essentially shutting down his comedy career because I wasn't giving him rides. Mind you, this is like a 36-year-old man saying this to his 17-year-old boy. So these are the kinds of crazy people you meet. So I tell him, I go, I'm not going to give you rides anymore. And then it became this whole thing where he then felt very offended, and he was saying, well, this is so sudden. You were so nice to me. This is not fair. And then, it just became this whole thing where I had to explain myself and practically, it's like he wanted me to give him some sort of answer for why I didn't want to hang out with him. That would somehow suffice him, and I just didn't see how I could or how that would happen. And then eventually I told him, I just said, don't text me anymore, man. Just, I'm sorry. And I got aggressive, and it sounds mean to tell somebody, don't text me anymore. But it got to a point where I was like, I just can't do this. You are just really bugging the fuck out of me. Just don't text me anymore, okay? That's it, buddy. Just no more of this, all right? Enough. And that was a really long time before he would really stop texting me. That was a really long time, and he would even find ways to kind of pretend that he was being healthy and still text me. Like one time he texted me and he was like, my therapist said that I treat my friendships like relationships. And I was like, yeah, you do. And he was like, well, I want you to know that I was never sexually attracted to you. And I was like, okay, you are fucking stupid. That's not what your therapist was saying. Your therapist was saying that you become friends with somebody and then you take it for granted that that person should do a bunch of fucking things for you. And that's not how stuff works, and it's a bad way to think. And it was just so back and forth, and it took so fucking long, and it took me, essentially being mean to him to break it, because some people are just really hard to shake, and you realize that with people. This is, and you realize that some people you can send a message and they get it and they fuck off. For some people you can even tell directly and they have enough confidence in themselves to go, okay, I mean, that hurts me that this person's telling me they don't want to hang out with me, but since they've told me this, I'm not going to, because it would be a losing battle and would make me feel worse to continue to do. But you run into some people that just don't have enough going on, that just don't have a lot, and so they want you. They want your attention. They want the continued friendship, because they view you not wanting to be friends with them anymore as kind of you telling them that they're not a great person, which you are. You are telling them that. You are telling them, hey, man, I really don't think you're so great, and I don't want you in my life anymore, and so I'm going to end that, and you're no longer in my life. And that's tough for people, because it's kind of like telling someone they're shitty and also telling them that they lost a friend at the same time. And so people can feel a great sense of loss. And if those people are already kind of broken people, the kind of clingy people, then it's really going to affect them. And it's your fucking burden now. So that's why you do your best to send a message. And at the end of the day, it's like silence is the true killer. I probably could have ended that relationship because you realize it's like we didn't live together. I see him at open mics, but I was his main ride to open mics. I could have just stopped responding to his text completely. I could have just ghosted him. And I would have seen him around, and it would have been awkward, and it would have been weird, and we would have talked about it, I'm sure. But if I never responded to one of those texts, I never even made myself clear, all I did was just let him know that I'm not going to respond to him, it might have been a much different and better situation. You know, I would not be surprised that things would have worked out a lot better if I just gave him nothing to hold on to. Because you realize with those people is people say be direct, but then you're direct with someone, and you realize that then everything you're saying to them is fodder for some argument that they want to have that you didn't want to have, because you're telling them, I don't want to talk to you. But then they want to argue about it. So not only are you now still talking to them, you're in an unpleasant conversation. You're in a fucking argument. And that's what I'm supposed to do, New York? Is that what I'm supposed to do the whole time? I'll tell you about another time I was direct and how this fucking worked out. It was in comedy. By the way, it's not like I'm not a fucking asshole in these stories. It's not like, any of these stories where you're direct or not. I know. I know people's feelings are hurt. I'm just saying signals seem to work better. Point is, one time, I used to go to an open mic. It was called Next Stage Theater. It was in a small shopping complex off of La Brea. It was on the second story, and it was a small black box theater that they let us use for an open mic space. So multiple people hosted open mics every single night at this spot, and I would go there all the time, and tons of different kinds of people would roll through. And a lot of them were really great, dedicated comedians trying to be funny in a very shitty theater, and it was nice and endearing and fun. And then there were some people that were just sort of lost people, like, sort of drug addicts, transients, sometimes literally homeless people would come and hang out. One time this guy started showing up. He was a young guy. He was a tall guy. He was like 6'5", buff-ass black dude named Shiloh from New York, I believe. So we're going to want to talk about Be Direct, from New York. Came out here. He wanted to be an actor. He was driving a BMW SUV, those big hatchbacks, the twin turbos. He's driving that, and he would come around and he would go on stage. He would talk about how he didn't want to be a comedian. He would talk about how his mom died, about how she left him, I think, $60,000, but he didn't know about that for a full year, and he just got that money. So he bought that SUV, which I think he spent a little too much. And then he was also doing drugs. And he was around, but nobody ever accepted him because he was a guy that was openly wasting our time. He would tell us, he'd go, I'm not a comedian. I don't, it was bad. And we were negative people. So when somebody comes in and it's fucking 2 a.m. and you're trying to do stand-up and one guy's on stage and he's like, I don't even want to be a stand-up. You're like, dude, I'm fucking waiting to get up so I can practice this and I can go home, But one time we were in conversation. It was me, one of my other comic friends who's he's about as tall as the guy I'm talking about, but maybe about 150 pounds bigger, and a couple other guys. And we were talking, and this guy, Shiloh, was saying a bunch of bullshit. He wasn't a comic. He wasn't funny. He wasn't fitting in with the crew. He wasn't trying to fit in with the crew. He was kind of being an asshole. And so when he was being an asshole, I would kind of go back and I would kind of combat him and I would kind of shit on him, but not in any kind of fucked up way, like in a way that's, similar to what you might assume comedians hanging out might be. But at one point he goes, hey, why are you saying all this stuff? I feel like you're kind of giving me shit. And at this point I'm like 17 or 18. I'm about as big as I am now, fucking 5'9", 140. I'm not a big guy. I was probably maybe even a little smaller. But he goes, why are you saying all this shit? And I just go, I don't like you. And he's like, what? Because that's how people react when you're direct with them. If you look at somebody, you say, I don't like you, nobody believes it. You can't look at a guy and go like, I don't like you, and they go, oh, okay, I got that. The only people that do that are like lovable shitheads, like guys in bars that everybody hates, but like they don't really hate them. They're just shitty drunks. And if you look at them and you go, I don't like you, they go, yeah, I understand. I'm a pretty unlikable guy, you know? And then in that sense, you kind of start to like that guy. But no, I look at this guy and I go, I don't like you. Because he asked. I didn't tell him. I was sending him signals, which he could have caught up on. But he wanted to know. So he asked, and I said, I don't like you. He was like, well, what? Why don't you like me? And I was like, I just kind of think you're being an asshole, man. And like, you know, you're not funny. You don't want to be a comic or whatever. And he started to get really angry. And he started to do a thing that men do when they're really angry, is they tell the other man that they are angry. We're in the circle. He's like, you're so fucking mad, man. I can tell. I'm like, I'm not mad. I just told you the truth, and you seem really upset by it. And then the whole conversation just became this sort of pedantic, cyclical argument. Eventually, my much larger friend kind of held him back, which looking back, I don't really think was necessary, but I think he was kind of trying to get in my face. And I don't have a survival instinct, so I probably wasn't as scared as I should be. But anyway, that began, him disliking me. So I showed up to the same open mic the next day, and it was a different kind of open mic. The one we were at before was very popular. People would come, and it was fun. But this one was less crowded, more dismal, and he was there. And I walked in, and I saw him, and I think I waved at him, or I acknowledged him. I said hello. And then I was standing outside, and then he came outside, and he was like, hey, Cooper, why didn't you say hi to me? I was like, I did say hi to you. I saw you through the window, Shiloh. I waved at you. I said hi. And then, he didn't have much to say back, and he was all pissed off. And he was openly, like, snorting crushed up pills on a counter. So anyway, the mic starts, and at one point he gets on stage before me. And I'm sitting in the back, and I'm not going to bother his set. I'm sitting in the back. But at one point I do put my head in my hands. I swear to God, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't so he would see and know that I don't like him. It was nothing like that. I just was there, and I leaned down, I put my head in my hands, and I was in the very back of the room in the dark. I didn't even think he saw me. But he looks, and he goes, hey, what the fuck? What, you got something to say? And I go, no. But now that you ask, and then it just became this whole thing where, I don't know, I ended up calling him a cunt bitch. It was one of the things I said to him, because he kind of opened the floor, so I was like, all right, I will heckle you, and I will ruin your set. Because it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to be a fucking genius. But I was like, you fucking cunt bitch. And he goes, what'd you say to me? And I go, I called you a cunt bitch. Which, I would imagine in his mind, he must be so confused by now, because he can fucking beat my ass. So he's probably thinking, like, is this guy trying to fight me? Do I have to fight this guy? And he's fucking high on drugs. He's thinking about how his mom's dead. It's sad, man. He's probably the most confused he's ever been. I don't think people are ever intimidated by me, but I think he was probably so fucking confused as to why I was saying these things, because they're all things that get your ass kicked. But I essentially yell at him through his set. The rest of the crowd has known me for at least over a year, and I'm the youngest person consistently doing comedy in LA, so I have a nice little star on my shoulder, you know what I mean? I'm at least like a little kid. They kind of know me and they like me, and I'm getting a little better at stand-up, I think, at that point, so they're nicer to me. And they only know this guy is the guy that gets drunk and fucked up and comes to the mic and fucks everything up. So nobody's really that pissed about the interaction on stage and the way I acted. They know that I'm being an idiot, but I still have the entire open mic on my side just by default. But he gets off stage, and now I'm sort of worried, because I'm thinking, well, fuck, now my set's done. There's no way he's going to let me talk after all that. And I don't get up for, maybe another 2 hours. I mean, it was sparsely attended, but somehow I still didn't get up for like an hour, like a long time. So I'm, going in and out of the room, smoking cigarettes, doing whatever I'm doing. This guy is crushing up more pills, getting more fucked up. And I'm, kind of getting nervous about my set, but also, I'm not. It is what it is. It's too late now. It is what it is. So eventually I get called up, and he is in the room, but he's sleeping, and he's in like a drug sleep, and he's not snoring. So I'm just thinking, I don't know, I guess I'll just do my set next to this asleep bear and hope I don't wake the bear. Which at that point, it's sort of like, why even do the set? I don't know, because I like comedy. I do my set, and he wakes up, and I don't say anything, but he chimes in at some point, which we all expected. He chimes in. He says something. He says something mean to start it, and I just look at him and I go, I remember watching you crush up pills in the bathroom earlier tonight, Shiloh, and that joke did a lot better than I expected. And it's because it's simple psychology. Everybody knows this guy's a fucking drug addict who's wasting our time. Everybody knows that we have beef. Everybody knows that this moment was gonna happen. There's nothing I can say that won't be kind of funny as long as it's mean to him. So I say that and the whole room laughs. And now the part of my brain is like, nice, you're doing well. You're making the older comics laugh. Fuck yeah. And I had planned bits, which was stupid for a fight. But they didn't go over as well as the in-person stuff. But I remember he had bleached hair, and I said, man, I can't wait till your bleached hair is the saddest frosted tips in the world after you're homeless on Hollywood Boulevard. And that was a little long-winded. It was more Shakespearean than anything. So funny to call that Shakespearean. Joking, of course. I'm a comedian. This comedy podcast. But I'm giving him shit. And it's just two dumb dudes just going back at each other. I'm on stage. He's in the audience. We're each trying to make each other feel bad. He has this BMW. At one point he goes, what car do you drive? And I drove a Mercedes at the time because what I liked to do back then is I'd spend like $2,000 on a Mercedes from like the year 2000. Or my first car was in 1989, and that was like $1,500. You can get a Mercedes from those years for very cheap. And it's because they're very bad cars. But it's still a Mercedes, so that's kind of nice. But he was trying to one-up me, so he goes, what kind of car do you drive? And then finally, the one time I didn't have to be embarrassed about it, I was like, a Mercedes. And then he was pissed because it wasn't a Civic. And he goes, well, you're going to crash your fucking car tonight. And I remember that he had talked about his dead mom a lot. And so I said, yeah, I am going to crash my car. I'm going to crash my car in your dead mother's fucking grave. Which is interesting because to me, that's almost like an old-timey insult, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to crash my car to your dead mother's grave, But when you actually have a dead mom and you're furious and you're high, that's not cool. It's not chill. Do you understand? And he was not chill about it, which I understood because you don't make fun of a man's mom, especially a black dude's mom. That doesn't work out. And when they're dead, it really doesn't work out. So he got up and wanted to just talk to me, which, as you might remember from the Dave Chappelle special, if a black dude says, I want to just talk to you, they want to fight you. And, you don't really need a special to tell you that. The energy of a guy trying to approach you on stage with his shoulders back is such that you're probably not going to have a conversation. So he stands up, and then my other friend, who is maybe even taller than this guy, and maybe at this point 200 pounds bigger. I had two large friends that helped me. He gets up and he goes, you should leave. And I go, okay. And this guy is he fucks around all the time. He's like a real jackass. I love him, but he's very off. He's rarely serious. But he looks at me and goes, you should go. And I was like, okay, this is pretty bad. So they're kind of starting to hold him back, and there's like 2 rows in this theater, so he's in one row, and I go out the other row, and I slip out the door. I walk into the parking lot. Now he's outside. They're still holding him back. He's yelling. I'm walking out of the parking lot. I turn the corner to exit the parking lot where nobody can see me anymore, and I start sprinting because I've realized I've started a fight that not only can I not win, that I could be killed by because you have a guy that's so fucking strong. He works out. He's buff. He's strong. And he has dead mom rage. And he's high. So if he kills me, it's almost my fault. like the extent to which the ability to stop fighting me would be impossible is insane. So I turn the corner and I sprint to my car and I get in my car and I start it and I drive, and right as I pull off, I see he's like 5 feet behind the car. I pull off in time and he doesn't catch me. But if I didn't sprint, he would have caught me because he was much faster than me. But I tell that whole story to say that if you tell people the truth, they might try and fight you. Now, is that a good way to sum up that story? No. But had I continued lying to him and not been direct about the way I feel, I would not have, none of that would have began. So just to everybody in New York, when you want honesty, ask yourself the question, if somebody is honest with you and they tell you the full truth about how they feel, are you going to try and fight them? That's all I got to know. Are you going to try and fight them? And if you are, then maybe don't ask for honesty in your life and maybe start trying to pick up on signals, okay? Because you also have a wife at home that hasn't loved you for fucking 20 years, but you haven't gotten the signals, okay? And you're just fucking waiting for her to tell you. I don't know. Or your life is fine. Maybe, you know. Well, we did 40 more minutes. We did about 20 yesterday. Honestly, that I recorded this for about almost exactly 40 minutes. The way that the story ended right on time is almost seems like God telling me that I don't have a lot of steam left. But I'm very sorry that this episode was kind of jumping around. I am genuinely concerned at how much I could not breathe yesterday. It's also good to realize, you know, if you're watching this podcast and you're like, why does he yawn and breath? I don't know. Talk out loud about ideas and stories for an hour straight and see how you fucking feel, jackass. I'm just kidding. I'm actually very chill and calm, and I'm a nice person. And trying to be nicer to myself. But it was funny because last night, my, I don't know, I guess nice to myself voice came out. I heard it. I mean, I am the one that made it, but I didn't do it on purpose. But I said to myself, I was like, man, I feel like such a jackass sometimes. And I swear to God, just out of like the left side of my head, I just hear this voice go, oh, hey, that's not nice. That's a mean thing. Don't say that about yourself. And I'm not doing the voice, but it was close, okay? I don't know who this fucking voice is, but he sounds like an asshole. And it almost made me look at the negative voice and go like, is that the goal? Is that guy who I'm supposed to be? That's how I'm supposed to feel. That fucking idiot, did you hear him? And my negative voice is like, yeah, dude, that sounded like a fucking asshole. Because my negative voice, you know, kind of sounds more like this, maybe. I don't know. But I was that other voice. I was like, fuck me, man. Like, is that the goal? I don't know. I've been less negative myself, but if I become fucking like, how's everybody doing? You know, like, I don't know. I don't want to turn into like a jalapeno popper. Like, it's terrible to believe that any kind of negative self-talk or mental illness gives you a cool personality. It doesn't. It does the opposite. But sometimes you look at the other side and you're like, well, does everybody suck then? Because that guy's a fucking loser pussy. He sounds like a dumb ass. I don't want to hang out with him. I don't know. Maybe, how do you be cool and positive? I feel like everybody who's positive is like not cool. Maybe that's fine. Maybe it's not. Maybe you shouldn't try and be cool. But I'd like to be a little cool. You know what I mean? I'd like to have a little bit of je ne sais quoi about me. Because I don't want to be like, it's such a nice day. Somebody was telling me a story last night that they were hanging out with a fucking motivational speaker. They went on a date with them or something, and it was fun. But then the motivational speaker just kept sending her selfies of himself throughout the day. Like, just the whole, like, just like. And I know that truly happy, fulfilled people, that's not what most of them do. But you got to realize when you're a guy like me that's very negative, you worry about a pendulum swing. You worry about becoming that guy because there's born-again Christians are one thing, but there is almost nothing more annoying than a fucking born-again positive guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. But, everybody listening to this, I hope you know that I will never solve my problems. I'll never try and get better. I'll never try and work anything out, and it's because this is the good stuff. I'm going to try and stay in a state, because I'm in a state right now where I'm not well, and I'm not fully happy and content, but I'm not completely in the gutters, and it might be a great place to be honest. To like I believe this podcast could become more successful, but I do also believe that I'm a piece of shit who should die, So it's like maybe that's kind of the interim period. Maybe that's where we want to stay, just right in the middle. Just, is he hopeful enough to get up and make a bowl of cereal? Not enough to, like, really invest in himself. Okay, so that's a lesson we could use more. All right. I'm really just, I'm broadcasting the hell out of myself right now. I mean, the extent to which I'm broadcasting is almost atrocious, But we're gonna be back on schedule. We took a week off. This is gonna be released the upcoming Wednesday, and we are going to continue releasing them every Wednesday and try and get this thing going. Get a little more people listening to it. If you like this podcast, please, like and subscribe and comment. If you listen to it on Spotify, answer the little question or whatever. What did you think about this podcast? I think we're still doing that. Tell your friends about it. That would really help. Tell your friends about it. That would be the biggest thing. If you tell your friend about it. More than anything. Just tell a friend. Tell them about something else. Maybe sandwich it in. Maybe make a sandwich of cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like, man, do you ever see Travis Pastrana do a double backflip? Cooper Lyden is Alone podcast is a great podcast. The moon landing was exquisite. Something like that. Get them listening. Let's give them something to talk about. You know what I mean? That would help me personally if you could do that. But if you can't, that's okay too. Obviously I'm not going to start a Patreon because I don't have enough listeners. But if you did just want to send me, $5 a month in an envelope, cash, kind of the way my grandma would. Well, my grandma wouldn't, but maybe your grandma in another state. If you want to do that, you can do that too. Honestly, last episode, because I haven't been promoting it, hasn't been consistent, it's not doing well, got about 5 views. But what I'm saying is, if those 5 people gave me $1,000 a day, I could make $5,000 a day. So how about we think about that? Or if you only, if for those that are trying to save money, if you only want to do $1,000 a month, we can do that too. And that's only $12,000 a year to a guy you don't know to produce a podcast that's very low production, that requires no continued money to keep going. Think about that. It's stuff to think about. If you want this podcast to keep going, maybe, I don't know, think about sending me $5,000 a month. I'm rambling, and I feel like the podcast has been ending now for 10 minutes, and I haven't ended it. But maybe I've just hit my stride. We're going to end it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Love you so much.